Tonight, these radio dramas will be transmitted to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. It's time for Radio on the Air. This is your announcer, Karen Hauser, speaking. This evening, we bring you the world premiere performances of 2 original radio plays, conceived and written by our own Radio on the Air playwrights. We begin tonight's performance with the world premiere performance of a new and original play written by Poulsbo's own Thomas Mengert, involving that master detective Sherlock Holmes. This time, Dr. John Watson will be relating to us the exciting episode entitled The Adventure of Dreadthorpe Manor. And then, after our intermission, we will present the world premiere of our own original Radio on the Air mystery drama, The Prodigal Grandma, a radio play inspired by you, our Poulsbo community audience, and written by the members of our first Radio on the Air script writing workshop, held in Poulsbo in the summer of 2014, right here at the Jewel Box Theater in Poulsbo, and led by Jack O'Connor. And now, the Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, brings you The Adventure of Dreadthorpe Manor. Evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invites you to accompany me tonight as we pay our weekly visit to Dr. Watson. I think I can just make it without getting soaked if I run.
Hey, who's that? And on such a night? Great Scott! Has it been a week already? Come in, Mrs. Hauser. Here, give me your things and take the large armchair here by the fire.
Thank you, Doctor.
Oh, you must be chilled to the bone, lass. Perhaps you could use a glass of port.
That would be most welcome, Doctor. Perhaps some Petri port?
I just happen to have some on hand, and I believe I will join you. I can't see that deep, rich ruby red of Petri port without longing to see how it sparkles in a glass of crystal under the firelight.
You're right there, Doctor. The Petri family chooses its grape carefully to make all their wonderful ports. Then the Petri vintners crush them methodically in treading tanks and allow the wine to age up to 3 years in large oaken vats before bottling. That is the way to make a truly fine ruby port, one that any family would be proud to serve chilled or on ice before dinner, or after, with a slice of cheese or a chocolate dessert. And you know, this lovely brie cheese would also taste marvelous if served with a fine, mellow Petri sherry. I can almost see that rich golden color. We ladies love it. Just the sort of wine to serve for that romantic evening at home. But I always make sure that it's Petri sherry, because the Petri family takes time to bring you good wine.
Well then, Mrs. Hauser, if you're quite recovered, I'll proceed with tonight's tale. I believe that I promised you last week to recount the unprecedented events surrounding the adventure of Dreadthorpe Manor.
You did, Doctor.
Let's see now. As I recall, it was on just such a bleak and blustery night as this that Holmes and I were seated comfortably before the fire in his old rooms in 221B Baker Street. It was near the conclusion of Holmes's practice as a detective in the year of 1903, and we had just returned from our excursion to America by way of Japan. Holmes had been plagued by health concerns throughout our journeys, but had at last found the time and energy to aid his brother Mycroft in his many obscure government duties. Nevertheless, in a short time, the aura of monotony pervaded the great affairs of nations had become burdensome in the extreme to us both. On the evening in question, we were both at home and quite happy not to be forced out into the cold wet of the night. I sat reading one of Clark Russell's sea tales while Holmes was bent over his microscope, examining a Greek manuscript from the 12th century.
An interesting concession.
Holmes?
Yes, most interesting, Watson. And from an abbot on Mount Athos, no less. That is quite dispositive of the issue to my way of thinking.
Perhaps if you could elucidate.
Well, what would you call it? If the abbot of the most revered monastic institution in Eastern Orthodoxy admitted that the Holy Spirit proceeds from both the Son and the Father, surely that is a startling admission.
I'm afraid you're still being rather abstruse, Holmes.
A characteristic of mine that would appear not objectionable to all those readers of your lurid accounts of my exploits. But since they are not present here with us tonight, I'll state my case plainly.
That would be a relief.
He is referring, of course, to the Filioque clause of the Roman Catholic Creed. In sum, after the resurrection of Jesus and the return to the Father at the Ascension, the Son reclaimed the love between both the Father and the Son, commonly referred to as Jesus the Logos.
Now, you've quite lost me, Holmes.
My, Watson, you betray your Protestant roots, which I'm afraid manifest that haziness on doctrinal questions that reduces Christianity to a thing that can be memorized in an afternoon. Surely a faith that illuminates the very purpose of human existence merits a bit more study. It was nothing less than the Filioque clause that created the great schism in the 11th century, the first great fissure in Christian history between the Western and Eastern Church, between Rome and Constantinople.
And this was, I presume, important?
Indeed. Perhaps if I gave you a copy of my own rough translation, you might decide for yourself.
I'm content, Holmes, to take all this at your own estimation. But regarding another matter, I would perhaps venture to ask you a somewhat propitious question.
Of course, my dear fellow. Pray do so.
Well, since our return after our long journey, I must say you seem changed.
Really, my dear chap, how so?
You are far less interested in investigating cases, both large and small, than at any time since I've known you.
Well, as to that. Yes, you are quite right, my friend. But let us say rather that I have wearied, I'm afraid, of the trivia of history.
History?
Bluster, Watson. The grunting of apes and the cry of jackals in the night. The marginal advantages that all nations are seeking over each other form merely the prelude to an imminent and quite pointless vast conflagration. A war is approaching, my friend. It hovers there on the horizon like some great red storm of death. But it interests me not.
Good Lord, Holmes, to you, of all people, the master of facts, war, of all things, should...
Facts. What are they but mere assertions, elements of some overarching, fully self-imposed theory? I'm afraid that we are all locked up in our own skulls, my friend. Read Locke, or Kant, or Hume. They would break out of the skepticism of our age and demand daring, decidedness, and perhaps a touch of that asserting faith Pascal speaks of. Else how are we to escape that great, infinite, and silent black void that surrounds us, and assure ourselves that we are not, as it happens, entirely alone in our universe?
Well, I must say, just then we heard a carriage pull up outside our door. Shortly after that, we heard the rapping of the knocker on our front door and the sound of Mrs. Hudson's voice below.
I'm afraid it's me, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, my good woman. Enter, please.
Please pardon the sudden intrusion, Mr. Holmes. There's a gentleman below who wishes to see you most urgently. Most distrait he is, and he's in a terrible state.
Yes, I see. Thank you, Mrs. Hudson. What you say? Shall we see this fellow, Doctor?
Of course, Holmes, of course.
The gentleman seems to be quite exhausted. Doctor, we may need your assistance. I don't know if that he's strong enough to manage on his own. Oh dear, he's quite followed me up the stairs after all. Now, see here, sir, you were to wait for me. I has me own ways of bringing folks up to Mr. Holmes.
Yes, my good woman, I quite understand. But if it is not too much to ask, might I at least enter now?
Well, what's stopping you?
Well, there's hardly a room here for us both to...
Quite right. Thank you, Mrs. Hudson. Always grateful at having my devoted mastiff defending my door. Please come in, sir.
You may go in. Mr. Holmes will see you now, sir.
Suddenly, there just inside the entryway, the man began to sway uncontrollably, and with a crash fell forward in a dead faint on the floor.
Oh, dear me. Is everything all right, Mr. Holmes?
Oh, yes, Mrs. Hudson. Quite so. Do not bother yourself further. We will see to the gentleman. I believe your ministrations are called for, Doctor.
Well, no sign of wounds, Holmes. I believe the man has just fainted. There, he's coming around now. Here, Holmes, if you'll help me get him to the settee.
Dear me, this is most unseemly.
Here, my good fellow, you must take some sips of water.
Thank you. Please, you must pardon me, but you see, I have come to you directly from King's Cross Station on a matter of the deepest moment.
I see.
I have been driven from my home, gentlemen. I have been driven, positively driven.
Indeed?
I could bear his persecution no longer.
And who, sir, may I ask, has been persecuting you?
Here, sir, let me refill that glass.
Thank you, yes. It is my late father, sir, or a spectre, nay, rather a demon. For surely no mere spectre could so crush the manhood of one who has served, a soldier, mind you, one, I assure you, gentlemen, who has served Her Majesty in the Punjab campaign and in the Boer War.
Yes, of course.
But there the danger was evident and clear. But this obscure yet dreadful thing that haunts my every waking hour has quite worn me down.
Well now, here, Watson, we do have your case, and we are indeed, as well, very much in need of those facts you mentioned. Perhaps, sir, if you took some time to recollect yourself, you could assemble a coherent narrative of the events which have beset you.
Here, now, let me refill that glass again.
Thank you, sir. Doctor, you're of course right, Mr. Holmes. My apologies once again. I am Lord Fotheringham Pondicherry of Dreadthorpe Manor, and, you see, sir, we have met before this. You, Mr. Holmes, once investigated a case for my uncles in Somerset. I was younger then. Well, you see, I have become myself, now, the lord of the manor, a great estate with all of the prerequisites of a proper titled country gentleman. And yet, sir, I am miserable.
Go on.
What began some months ago as simply occasional annoyances has become of late an almost daily experience of terror. My wife, as well, is but a shadow of her usual hearty self, and the very house has become a byword in the neighborhood as a site of supernatural visitations.
Your case may, if this be so, exceed my poor competence.
Please do not conclude such prematurely, sir. If you do, I am lost.
Oh, sir, don't worry yourself about that. Well, then. Perhaps it would serve if I came up to your place to see it for myself.
Oh, if you only would.
Now then, let me see. I might come down Wednesday next, if that would be convenient for you, and for Lady Pondicherry.
Absolutely. Why, yes, of course. Wednesday, then. Yes, indeed. We shall be all anxiety until you arrive, Mr. Holmes. Daily the servants threaten to leave, and then my wife and I would be quite alone.
I suggest you be wary, then, until we can join you, Lord Pondicherry. For now, fear not, my good fellow, for I don't doubt but that we shall soon set matters aright. Well, Watson, what do you make of all that?
The man did not seem the sort to suffer from hysterical complaints.
Nor did he seem so to me. Nevertheless, nature must allow for some exit for repressed emotion. This might wake up our pores a bit. You will accompany me, of course?
Oh, I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Now, I beg that you will help me bring down the G and D volumes of my commonplace books, and I shall spend the next hour reading up on various aspects of ghostly hauntings and demonic possession.
Why, yes, of course, Holmes.
Thank you, Watson.
There. Holmes kept a catalogue of extracts on various obscure topics in what he referred to as his commonplace books. We secured the massive volumes, and settling back again comfortably into his worn, deep leather chair, Holmes proceeded to examine their contents avidly.
Spectres, revenants, apparitions, manifestations. Ah, well, they are all drawn from the same steeping cauldron, are they not, Watson? I wonder if you are familiar, my friend, with the more serious groups that study these phenomena.
Good Lord, I am a man of science, Holmes.
Yes, well, and just so do these gentlemen and ladies consider themselves to be.
But surely, Holmes, it is all nonsense.
Perhaps, on superficial inspection, it would, I dare say, appear so. But certain reports on the subject exist which suggest rather more than a mere spurious complicity.
Well then, what could cause these phenomena?
Ah, the very question, my dear fellow. Cause and effect indeed. Let us prepare ourselves during this week with study and due diligence for our upcoming confrontation with the forces of the unknown. And then we shall go up to Dreadthorpe Manor and see for ourselves.
True to his word, Holmes set out with me a week later for that mournful, dread-filled place. It was a chill day in late November, and the trees, only recently masses of brilliant color, were now bare and skeletal things. An oppressive sense crept over my spirits as our train progressed westward towards Somerset. On the opposite bench of the carriage, Holmes sat in his heavy woolen coat with his head resting upon the cushion. The ubiquitous deerstalker cap was drawn down over his eyes, and I could not tell whether he slept or not. The contrast between Holmes' calm demeanor and my own considerable apprehension was palpable. As we were approaching finally our destination, Holmes awoke, and with those keen grey eyes, smiled gently at me.
Well, Watson, are you quite prepared to confront the forces of darkness?
I hope rather that we will discover that his lordship has merely been a victim of his own nerves.
Oh, surely that would be disappointing. Nerves are rather boring things, are they not? I trust that our journey will reveal something more ethereal. Or better still, a criminal, flesh and blood. We must seek for motive, Watson. Motive indicates will, and where there is will, there is a conscious human entity behind it.
Well, Lord Pondicherry certainly struck me as a most estimable gentleman.
You imply, then, that he is undeserving of these terrible visitations?
Well, it would seem so. You doubt that they are maliciously contrived?
Well, it is possible that I do. But you see, I must. If I am to adhere to the best authorities on the subject, these visitations are seldom random occurrences, and according to the literature, they traditionally have a set object of communicating with the living. Often some past injustice or crime is at the heart of the matter, which must be revealed and remedied.
But Holmes, I'm confused. You think somehow that Lord Pondicherry himself may have been the cause of this thing?
Perhaps, perhaps not. Nevertheless, it may be that he is in a position to remedy some ancient wrong of his ancestors. We might at least take this as a passable initial working hypothesis. Here we are, our station, the village of Dreadthorpe.
Your story has only increased my chill, Doctor.
Then let me fill your glass again, Mrs. Hauser, with more fine Petri ruby port. It will soon restore you. That deep, dark glow of Petri port, the glow of warm friendship and fine conversation, always speaks to me of warm gatherings and discriminating homes.
Just such a hospitable home as you maintain yourself, Doctor, to greet us each week with a new tale of your old friend Sherlock Holmes. I wish he could be here with us tonight.
I'm afraid Holmes has been much occupied of late in investigating the Amateur Mendicant Society, a tale that may feature in one of my subsequent tellings. I shall, of course, carry to him your greetings.
Please do so, and if you will, accept this little gift to you both that I have brought along, a bottle of mellow Petri Sauterne.
Oh, delightful. Thank you, Mrs. Hauser. I am sure we will enjoy it to the full, with perhaps some of Mrs. Hudson's fish or fowl.
And, ladies and gentlemen, you too can enjoy the same gift. Just ask your dealer for Petri Sauterne. Make sure, though, that it's Petri, because the Petri family took the time to bring you good wine. But let us now return to your story, Doctor.
We skirted the tiny village of Dreadthorpe, and soon the grounds of the ancient estate opened before us to the right as we sped along a fine gravel drive bordered by hedgerows. The battered remains of the manor house were soon revealed to us upon a distant hill, a dilapidated but still distinguished old Georgian mansion that was surrounded by a large grove of blighted old maple trees. After a time, we turned in at the iron gate of a private drive that led upwards towards the house. Dusk was settling down, and the damp airs were rising from the fields, causing the house to appear to be floating above a sea of mist. As our dog cart from the village rolled around the courtyard before the house, our driver commented,
There it be, Governor. I don't envy you spending a night here. None of the villagers will come within a mile of the place. It has a bad reputation, indeed it has.
Holmes made no comment. Our conveyance rolled up and stopped before a massive stone entryway with great iron-studded door.
Here, my good fellow, is something for your trouble.
Thank you, Governor. Most generous, I'm sure.
Ah, Watson, what do you think? Here we are, on the fine rolling meadows of North Somerset, and with the serenity of a crisp, dark fall evening settling down about us. What could be better?
Yes, I say, Holmes, but I'm chilled clear through. I was feeling quite morose as we walked towards the great oaken doors, and for a moment I wondered that we might not be devoured by the giant stone lions that stood guard on either side. Just then the doors swung open grandly, and then closed respondingly behind us. And yet before us stood only the very unimposing figure of a shrunken elderly gentleman.
Good evening. You gentlemen are expected. Welcome to Dreadthorpe Manor. Allow me to show you into the hall where Lady Pondicherry awaits.
Thank you, my good man.
From Holmes' ironic tone, it was clear to me that he was somehow quite unimpressed with the man, but all I saw in the distraught look of the fellow was that he had apparently long been sharing the heavy burden of Lord Pondicherry's distress. In a moment, an immaculately dressed, quite attractive woman of about my own age stood smiling graciously before us.
So good of you both to come. What a great pleasure it is to meet you, Mr. Holmes, and you as well, Dr. Watson. I am Elizabeth Pondicherry. I trust your journey on the train and in that draughty cart was not too unpleasant, in despite of the cold. Here now, come with me for a moment into the drawing-room while we await my husband. I think a seat by the warm hearth and a cup or two of a fine Earl Grey should set you to rights soon enough.
Ah, Lady Pondicherry, thank you. I am pleased to make your acquaintance. And yes, indeed, you just may be saving my friend's life with your offer. The cold has, I'm afraid, done its work on the poor fellow. I, on the other hand, find your Somerset air bracing and stimulating in the extreme.
The grim-visaged butler silently gathered up our luggage and soon disappeared along a dark, gloomy passage. Although Lady Elizabeth Pondicherry wore the same enervated aspect as her husband, she was clearly determined to play to the fullest the part of our genteel hostess. The impressive woman continued to welcome us as though we'd been invited down for a country house gala rather than to investigate the mysterious cause of her and her husband's great distress.
Ah, Mr. Holmes, at last. We do so appreciate you coming in this weather. And Dr. Watson, I hope that the wind and the damp have not done you ill.
Not at all, Lord Pondicherry. Invigorating, rather.
It was a highly satisfactory trip, your lordship.
Here now, please, sit down with us now. I'm afraid that I must, you see. Well now, where then shall we begin?
I think Watson and I might best start by revealing to you the bit of research I've been conducting since our last meeting, Lord Pondicherry. First, let me say unequivocally that while I am not prepared to conclude that the cause of your troubles is indeed supernatural, I am at least willing to keep an open mind on the matter.
As Holmes took complete charge of the scene, it became apparent to me that he was actually thoroughly engaged in absorbing the atmosphere of the place and in carefully examining the character of its inhabitants.
Now then, from the disquiet of your manner, I observe that these strange manifestations have in fact continued, yes?
Lord Pondicherry's eyes wore a hunted air.
You are quite correct, Mr. Holmes, but I hesitate to elaborate while my wife is present. Perhaps, my dear, you should leave us for a bit, as I expect that...
No, Fotheringham, I shall remain. It may be that I am able to confirm or perhaps add to your own impressions.
As you wish, my dear, of course. Although your presence may cause me to use less graphic language that I would have otherwise employ. You see, gentlemen, it is the bravery of my consort which has insisted that we remain in this house when others might well have fled.
You touch upon a most essential point. I assume it has occurred to you that you are being systematically driven out of your home? So tell me, if you were to leave, who then would benefit from your absence?
Well, the estate could certainly continue to run well enough if I were not here. My own administrative duties are in fact slight, as I do have managers of the various operating particulars who would continue to do the main work. If I were to surrender the title and renounce the estate, well, it would all then descend to my younger brother.
Would he perhaps be as unlikely as you have been to enjoy the title and tenancy?
Oh, no, I think not. Bessel is a daring rascal and enjoys naught but his women. His gambling and his carelessness, that is his life. I suspect that these aberrations are of demonic origin. He would find it all quite entertaining.
Why, surely then he must be considered a significantly interested figure in all these happenings.
In a moment, Watson. Does your brother reside in the vicinity?
Oh, he spends most of his time abroad and only returns now and again to request various sums of me. He has rooms somewhere in the theater district near Leicester Square, I believe. He spends most of his evenings carousing with his many backstage friends.
I see. And you meet these requests of his for money?
I do, sir. If only to avoid unpleasant scenes. I do not like to refuse him.
My husband's only fault, Mr. Holmes, is his kindness and his propensity to hope for reform in one who is a true scoundrel. I should not be in the slightest surprised to find Basil in some way behind all of this, although it is beyond my imagining how that could be possible.
Now, my dear, you must not speak thus before strangers. Allowances must be made, you see, gentlemen. My wife is being unfair. Our parents died when both Basil and I were quite young, and deprived as he was of a father's care and mother's gentle influence, my brother has only me to raise him to maturity.
He might have done worse than to have had someone of your noble heart, Fotheringham. I'm afraid, Mr. Holmes, that my husband's goodness to his cadet brother has only worsened the man's folly and his propensity for dissoluteness.
Does he know, then, of your opinion of him?
I have kept it no secret.
Then perhaps you are yourself the reason behind these strange visitations.
Oh, that has of course crossed both our minds many times the last few weeks, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, let me assure you, sir, these visitations can by no means be due to any human agency.
And how can you be so sure of this?
Because it's the ghost of my father that I see. And I do know my own father, I assure you. He has become a great, distorted, and vile apparition. But it is certainly him. He appears just as he was brought home on that terrible last day from the hunt. I was away at school, of course, but I'm told that his head was severely injured when he was thrown from his horse. The great beast had bolted. I was forever frightened of it, and my father hurled against a tree. He died in a matter of hours, and our mother, sickened with grief, died herself but a few months later.
I see.
And just so my brother and I found ourselves. On that instant, she passed quite alone.
I hope you don't mind my saying this, but at this distance in time from the actual event, it should not be a difficult enterprise to recreate, with the aid of theatrics, such a powerfully dramatic experience now.
Ah, my dear Mr. Holmes, but you do not realize. You see, it is unquestionably my father's voice that speaks to me. No one could possibly know that voice better than I.
Possibly, sir. But after such a length of time, your own recollection of his voice might be altered and cause you to mistake it.
Ah, well, I see your point, of course. You would have to hear it for yourself. It could only be father.
We shall see about that. Now, with your permission, Lord Pondicherry, Watson and I must secrete ourselves in your bedroom, where you and your wife have been witnessing these manifestations.
Why, it is our bedchamber, sir.
Let me assure you, Lady Pondicherry, that Watson and I do not make this request lightly. We have been, over time, by virtue of our various professional contacts with the intimate surroundings of our clients, completely inured from our potential shock value. Nothing could be of more importance to us, of course, than your privacy and your safety. Please take comfort in our promise that we will remain as unobtrusive as possible.
Well, if it is, after all, quite necessary.
I can assure you both that, for your own well-being, it is.
Very well, then. We are entirely in your hands, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you. Now, Lord Pondicherry, if you would not mind summoning your butler, I have some questions to put to him.
Wilkins?
Yes, indeed.
You rang for me, your lordship?
Yes, Wilkins. Mr. Holmes here would like to ask you some questions.
Yes, sir, of course. But I doubt that I could have any information that could be of any use.
Nevertheless, Wilkins, I have pledged our fullest cooperation in this matter.
Oh, yes. Very good, sir.
You have been in service here for many years. Is that correct, Mr. Wilkins?
Since his lordship was a lad.
Good. Now tell me, have there been manifestations of a spectral character at other times during your service in this house, similar to those now occurring?
Nearly all the estates, as old as this one, have experienced something of that sort over the years.
That was not my question, Wilkins. I'm referring to Dreadthorpe Manor specifically.
Well, let me see now. No, sir. Not during the life of the old gentleman.
You are referring, of course, to his lordship's father.
Yes, of course.
Have you seen this apparition yourself?
No, sir. But I have no doubt that it is real.
And why is that?
His lordship's testimony. It is enough for me.
Quite right. But does it not strike you as strange that this spectre haunts only the one room?
Oh, but I didn't say that, sir. One of the maids was in quite a fright just 3 nights ago when she come upon a dark shape in the upper hall.
Ah, just so.
Quite a flighty girl, I'm afraid. Her description was rather vague, you see, as she had pulled her apron over her head, then ran screaming down the servants' stairs and took rather a tumble as a consequence.
Yet you believe that you saw something, Wilkins.
I have felt for some time that there has been something strange. I am not a fanciful man, Mr. Holmes, but I have felt my hair bristle whenever I am called upstairs.
You enjoy your duties here in other respects, then?
Oh, Lord Pondicherry is a very good master, sir.
But your duties? You seem a bit rheumatic. No doubt a warmer climate would present a considerable improvement.
Well, that, sir, would be a costly proposition.
No doubt. But surely you must have some money laid by.
Not so much as would allow me to forfeit my position here, sir.
Well, a man makes his own fortune, does he not, if he has his wits about him. None of us is getting any younger.
No, sir. That is true enough.
That will be all, Wilkins. You have your duties to pursue. I shall not detain you further.
Yes, go and see if our supper is ready, Wilkins. Perhaps some roast baron of beef will do us all good and fortify us for what may lie before us this night.
And so it was that Holmes and I enjoyed, with the beleaguered couple, a fine meal by candlelight.
Yes, Doctor, it is at just such times that one might wish for a glass of wine, perhaps some Petri Burgundy. Its bold, hearty flavor is the perfect enhancement to an excellent roast beef dinner, to prepare the mind and heart to encounter danger.
As a matter of fact, Mrs. Hauser, that is precisely what we were served on that eerie night so long ago in Somerset.
And then, perhaps you finished your meal with a glass of sherry, its golden color reflecting the light of the drawing-room fire as the hours ticked by. Friends, you too can enjoy a quiet evening at home by the fire with Petri sherry or muscatel, but remember always to ask for Petri sherry and wine, because the Petri family took the time to bring you good wine. Now, Doctor, perhaps you will tell us what occurred later that night.
Yes, well, it was a grim night indeed. Outside we could hear the sound of the wind and the occasional snapping of branches in the autumnal trees. Leaving the dining room, we were accosted by Lady Pondicherry. As we were about to ascend the grand stairway, she moved us quietly into the nearby salon and requested a short audience alone with us.
I know, Mr. Holmes, that my husband desires to protect me, but I fear that it is more likely his own reason that is threatened by these dreadful events. Like his father before him, he has always been of a nervous temperament. Indeed, his entire family is known in Somerset for its agitated disposition. Therefore, I beg you to spare him as best you may.
We shall do our best, my lady, but please bear in mind that we have no choice but to perpetuate the conditions in which this phantom will be manifest in its usual guise and manner. Fear not, however. I do not doubt that we shall set matters right before this night is past.
I do hope so, Mr. Holmes. My husband has been quite distracted of late. I fear phantoms less than the mental alienation of one who, though he desires to spare me, would be better advised to spare himself.
Is it not the female lion who is always the better hunter?
Of course, for she must feed both the male and herself, as well as her offspring, while the male of the species need only sit beneath the trees and posture. Indeed, you do understand me.
But I am sorry. Pray go on, my lady.
You and your friend are welcome to invade our bedchamber as you find necessary. Only bring us relief, and you shall have my eternal gratitude.
But what relief that is to be, my dear lady, I cannot say. I only hope that you do not expect too much of us. You must recall that my friend and I are coming in at a rather late stage in a drama which has been evidently playing itself out for some time. I may observe keenly enough, but I have no power to strip away the heavy layers of time. I cannot return either Lord Pondicherry or his brother to those periods when they were children or young men.
Then by your leave, let me supply those hints, and hints only they must remain, which will take you within our private lives. My husband is a man who has lived his entire life under a sense of obligation to a father who perished while he was away at school, and to live in eternal debt to an image is a dreadful thing. It is like attempting to climb out of a grief-soaked grave with the mud always caving in about one. It is not too much to say that my husband has been haunted his entire life by a nameless guilt, something that is in itself even more dreadful than this latest revenant. It is not this ghost that so frightens my husband. It is the accusing finger of the man himself, still living in the mind of my husband. It is the personage of his own outraged father who terrorizes him.
But what then is it that his lordship has done?
He exists. That is enough. He started as a frail lad, and in spite of growing to a more than adequate manhood, as you as well can see, With age, his inadequacies became ever more evident in the imaginings of his father. In the grown man, then, so unlike his father, my husband's crime was complete.
I see.
It was quite simply that he could never adequately fulfill the role of the gallant gentleman of the county, riding with the hounds and master of the hunt.
Ah, yes, of course. But what of the younger brother? Is he of a similar constitution?
Oh, no, not at all. Why, Basil is a wastrel and a gadabout, but he is possessed of an iron constitution and of all the ambition that his brother lacks.
And yet you have suggested that both suffer from the family's nervous temperament.
Well, that is true enough, if madness be an inherited malady of the nerves.
Ah, then you believe him to be mad.
I know that he is vicious and heartless in the extreme, and that he cares nothing for his brother, who loves him in spite of all his faults.
And that, in your view, constitutes madness?
Yes, in the only way that true madness ever is found, in a nature that is distorted and cruel.
I see. I have only one more question, and I beg that you think carefully before answering. The laws of England favor the elder son, and most cadet sons learn early on to accept the justice of this universal arrangement, and to adopt other career paths that gentlemen may with honor pursue. Why, then, has that not been the case here?
Well, then, I will tell you what I believe. The father of my husband, beast that he was, had counted on his first son's early demise, due to his frailty. Basil, you see, is the very picture of his father, a ruffian, sir, and like his father before him, who was even worse than his father before him. All were feared by tenants and tradesmen alike. I do not like to speak ill of the dead, Mr. Holmes, but if ever there was a man whose spirit deserved to wander restlessly and without finding peace in the hereafter, it is that of the former Lord Pondicherry, my husband's ill-conceived father.
Your revelations have been most helpful, and indeed suggestive, my lady. These are very deep waters indeed. But I do not doubt that we may drag up something of value from the murky depths soon, though I fear it may be painful to his lordship that we do so.
Nothing can be worse, Mr. Holmes, than the uncertainty that these fearful presentiments have brought.
Take courage, then. We shall, as I promised, soon set matters right, or I am very much mistaken. Good evening, then, Lady Pondicherry. Watson and I must leave you now to take our position in your chambers, and to steel our nerves to see whatever it is that may be seen.
We proceeded to climb the ancient stairs with a distinct sense of foreboding. Then abruptly Holmes pulled me aside, out of sight of the others on the landing.
An extraordinary woman, Watson, but we shall not disappoint her. There is, of course, a distinct element of peril.
Seasoning to the broth, Holmes.
Excellent. You are ever the best of comrades. Let us sally forth then, and to battle. Ah, the very door we seek.
Come in, Mr. Holmes.
After a bit of reconnoitering, Holmes and I soon managed to establish a secret retreat for us behind a massive oaken armoire, which allowed us a view of the necessary portions of the room. I noted immediately that, unknown to our host, Holmes had brought with him a powerful electric torch. Lady Pondicherry was now abed, and shortly his lordship was as well. All was in readiness, at last, for whatever might occur.
Keep your wits about you tonight, old fellow. I do not know what we may encounter, but where the fortunes of a lordship are in play, desperate men may risk much.
Do you think that a crime may be involved here?
I think that a crime may possibly be avoided by our presence, Watson.
Holmes?
I shall make all clear to you in due season, Watson, but suffice it to say, you are right in all your suspicions, my friend. Quiet now. We must press on.
Half an hour more passed with infinite slowness, and the great house became as still as a tomb. Then the grandfather clock in the stairwell hall chimed that it was 11 o'clock. I was on the point of nodding off when I felt Holmes' grip at my shoulder. I was instantly fully alert, and a chill ran along my very blood. Directly through the wall there seemed to emerge a dark figure in antique garb. It moved slowly forward until it stood in the dim shaft of moonlight which the stormy night admitted through the dark leaded windows. The raised head was wrapped in bandages which shone torn and blood-soaked in the ghastly light. Suddenly, pointing a bony finger at the bed, the spectre intoned in a heavy solemn voice an accusation against our host.
My son, you must leave this house, which you shame by your presence, at once. Leave Dreadthorpe Manor now, or you shall join me wherein I dwell in abject misery and begin paying for your sins against your brother. I am following the custom of the patriarchs. I shall bypass the elder son, who is proven cowardly and useless. Not as man sees does God see. Your estimable brother Basil Pondicherry shall be as Jacob and Joseph and David. This estate shall be his by my command. Abandon then your impious presumption that primogeniture may justify your usurpation of this place. Flee England, I say. Flee or feel my wrath, and more than mine, fear nothing less than divine retribution.
Just at that moment, Holmes shone the light of the powerful electric torch fully upon the figure. Under the garish light, a crude and uncouth sight stood revealed before us. Clothed in great worn grey cloak and with a paint-bespattered shirt front, stood a giant caricature of a man. Instantly, the figure cast off its bulky headgear, which had simulated the bloody skull, thinking to escape.
Brother, it is you! How dare you assume the shattered vestige of our long-dead father? Oh, fie, fie! I fear you tempt the wrath of the very providence that you have invoked with such treachery.
Suddenly, under the glare of the torch, we could now see the hidden panel that had opened in the wall. That opening had been the means of entrance for the ghostly figure. But soon a second figure began to materialize, which was a near match for the first. Immediately, our would-be ghost turned to face it, and in a desperate attempt to escape the clutches of this very horror, he hurled himself backwards in sheer terror. In the space of an instant, the man crashed with a horrible, strangled cry through the great windows of the chamber and fell to his death on the pavement below.
Was quite a story, Dr. Watson. I certainly hope that Sherlock Holmes took the time to explain to you the mystery behind it all.
Yes, well, Mrs. Hauser, that he did indeed. I was still rather confused over these events the following day as we sat in the railway coach on our return journey to Baker Street. But I did manage to ask Holmes if our encounter at Dreadthorpe Manor had in any way altered his understanding of apparitions.
Well, well, Watson, who can say, after all, just when the natural and the supernatural might not merge? But as to those facts which you so enjoy speaking of, first, to become apparent to me was that it was the old butler who had admitted the brother into the house, and likely it was he who told him of the hidden panel and the secret staircase to the master bed chamber. And second, I could not but suspect, along with you, and both Lord and Lady Pondicherry, that the brother's love of theatrics was indeed at play here. But finally, I am afraid we are left but to speculate as to the cause of the violent reaction of Basil himself, once he found himself discovered in the midst of his extraordinary performance. We might, for instance, conclude that his own great burden of guilt and the fierce need for expiation that sin demands was itself sufficient to drive him out that window. But I conjecture that it was no more than the great shock of surprise.
Holmes,
You remember, do you not, my dear fellow, that before we left, I decided to take a closer look at the long mirror in that bedchamber. Initially, as did you, Watson, I wondered if perhaps the man had seen no more than the sudden, unexpected, brightly lit image of himself reflected in that long mirror.
Whatever it was certainly much more terrifying to him than it was to us. Yes, well, Holmes, but what of it?
Just this, my friend. You do recall that I asked you to stand exactly where Basil had stood during his long diatribe as the voice of doom?
Of course, Holmes.
Well, my dear fellow, appearances can be quite deceiving, can they not?
Well, yes, I should think that under the right circumstances they...
And that is what makes your question even more to the point.
I'm afraid you've lost me again, Holmes.
Tell me this, Watson. From where you were standing, could you, in fact, see your own reflection in that mirror?
Well, no, as a matter of fact, I could not. But surely the mirror might easily have been adjusted so that I could.
Ah, yes, of course. But Watson, as it turns out, you could not see it from that location without moving it in such a way as to eclipse our own view of that second spectre from our position behind that armoire.
But Holmes, I don't understand. What does this mean? It was, in fact, fully visible to us the entire time.
Ah, yes, indeed, my friend, it was.
But wait, Holmes, if it was not his own reflection, then what did the man see to cause him such a fright? What on earth did we all see?
What indeed, my dear fellow? What indeed did we see? Not perhaps anything on earth at all.
Well, now, I say. Why, now we're arriving home, I believe I'm more perplexed than when we left.
And isn't life just a bit better for all of that? It would seem indeed that there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in our philosophy, after all, my dear Watson. I say, my dear fellow, look here. Mr. Sarasate plays his exquisite violin this evening at the Albert Hall. Let us see if perhaps a concerto may not soothe our overwrought nerves and restore us to equanimity.
Well, it appears you have left us up in the air, Dr. Watson.
Perhaps, but no more so, I can assure you, Mrs. Hauser, than Sherlock Holmes left me.
Well, thank you, Doctor, for sharing with us tonight this intriguing experience. And now we bring to a close our visit with Dr. Watson, which has been most enlightening, and which has been brought to you by the Petrie family, the family that took the time to make good wine. Now stay tuned after our brief intermission for the second of tonight's original Radio on the Air radio plays, The Prodigal Grandma.